Hey, Desi, man, I wanted to start off with an apology.
Oh, God.
You may not recall, and I caught it in the moment. We were joking around at Tyler's house, right, when we had first met.
Yeah.
And I dropped something, a Mexican joke. And a beta is not Mexican, and I know that it's not like a Mexican name. But it was just, and in the flow of it, and everybody laughed it off. And then the next time we saw each other, so we're going back like 28.
I mean, this is right after Tyler randomly hit me up and was like, "Hey, man, I got a podcast studio." And I mean, your listeners probably don't know this, but mine do. I overthought this project way too much. I bought so many fucking courses and then finally just started doing it. And you guys are the reason why I have a pod right now, man. That was 2018.
It was at end of 18.
Shit.
And we kind of got rolling. No, I launched February 2019.
So we might be thinking 2019.
So it'd be like middle 2019.
It was pre-pandemic. Let's just
There's
our timeline.
Anyways, nonetheless, and then the next time I saw you, you were just chopping it up back and forth. Matt might have been on. I don't remember. Stacy maybe was there. I can't remember where we were in the podcast early on. And you were like, yeah, and you just kind of in passing were like, people make Mexican jokes sometimes, and I'm not even Mexican, like da da da. So I was just like, and as I said it, I was just a joke in the moment to make people laugh, and I didn't follow up in the moment with, hey man, I know you're not Mexican, like Abeta's not a Mexican name, like, and I see like I'm just really good at culture, like mixes, like, oh, okay, no, yeah, there's a good influence of that around here, so I wanted to apologize for that, man. I'm sorry,
bro. It's so funny that you say that, man, because I feel like the last 2 years has really pushed me through. Obviously, the last 2 years have been hard for everyone, right? And I think one of the things that has come up is more racial awareness around what's going on, and even in my therapy journey, man, I've noticed even the sense of privilege that I've had growing up in the way that I did. I am Mexicano, man. So so the funny thing about you apologizing, like I should be, it's part of my healing journey, man. I'm not going to apologize to myself, but like I, up until a certain point, was rejecting that because like the last name of Beta is Spanish, right? But my family, generations and generations, are from present day New Mexico, but we're Mexican, right? So. Okay. So I appreciate the apology, man. Not needed, but thank you.
Moving on. Moving on. It's good to have you here, man. I haven't seen you. Speaking of moving on, just the last time I saw you, bro. The what's next. We kind of just talked about this, but just as we think about that and evolving just in life, as we find our path as men, therapy, just mental health, and just awareness where we are. That's really kind of what I wanted to dig in with you and get down just some of your perspective, because this is what you do. I mean, just the high performance. For those of you longtime listeners, you've heard snippets of Desi before. Men of Purpose podcast has been on since transition to. I'm sorry, Phil. Tell me the name of your podcast.
So, Can't Believe I Made It podcast.
Can't Believe I Made It podcast. Yeah. That's right. With Motivational Mondays, get in on those. Yeah. The 2 Mondays ago, and you're talking about journaling. Yeah. That one, and dumping out your emotions in journal. That one, that one really hit. I haven't missed a day this year. I'm in a real spiritual, new season, a new awakening, a new opening. A lot of things are happening and unfolding in my life. So it's a pleasure to have your energy here. And why don't you just fill me in a little bit more on the background, just Tucson native? Yeah. Okay, so go from there, because you've done some big things. I want to work into baseball and nutrition and stuff, because these are things that I'm kind of always preaching on the podcast to all the listeners, just health, wellness, longevity, being pandemic ready. How much of your life beyond your schedule really shifted in your habits? So go start as far back as you want to go. I got all the time you got, tell us,
man. First of all, I'm so glad to be here. You and I need to spend more time together, because I think we really feed off one another energetically, and I think we're in very similar positions with things that we're passionate about in life, value systems. Yeah, man, like I said, I got to thank you so much for any of the creative endeavors that I have that has come from the pod. So, dude, I'm super happy to be here. Yeah, man. So I was born here in Tucson, was here for about 4 years, and then moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I lived there up until middle of my 8th grade year. And I say this joke, man, because it's just so crazy the way that things work. So moving here at the middle of 8th grade year was weird because I already had a friend group. I was already established. Like I was in sports. I had my people. So we moved out here, and this is probably the first time in the last maybe 3 to 4 years that I've even touched Houghton Road.
Welcome.
Yeah, right. Cause I'm from Rita Ranch. Like that's where I grew up. So we moved out to Rita Ranch. The first couple of days, like I popped in like the Justin Timberlake bleached freaking curls, like me and my brothers, man. We were a weird pariah coming in to Vail, which at that time, like, I mean, you know the culture.
Yeah.
So I'm getting there.
He means white.
Yeah. Not many kids of color there. Like, all right, this is different. But like the first couple days, man, no one would talk to me. Everyone thought I was kind of weird. Like I was that like brown kid that came in with bleached curls, wearing FUBU. Like, like it was a cool time until I played basketball, and then everyone was like, "Oh my god, like this dude is cool. Let me be his friend," type of thing. So since then, I've been here in Tucson. I tried to leave, man. For some reason, there's just something about this place that's like, "Hey, we're not ready for you to leave." And I think now in my 36th year of life, I'm starting to understand that anything that I want to do that I'm really passionate about, I can do from anywhere, which is really empowering. I don't think that I would have thought that 5-10 years ago at all. Like if I go back to myself 5 or 10 years ago and I tell myself like, hey, this is what you're doing to this day, I wouldn't believe me. And it's really great to do something like this because it is a stark reminder. And I think for anyone who's going to listen to this pod, it's a stark reminder for you as well. Like celebrate the things that you've been able to work through, because the fact that all of us are here, and most of us, not everyone, most of us are at least chasing some sort of passions and some sort of value system. I think that stuff is empowering, man. But yeah, so over the past 2-3 years, I mean, obviously the pandemic has changed a lot for everyone, but man, I'm super thankful that I went in on myself, 3-4 years ago in hiring a business mentor. It was a lot of money. Oftentimes people will look at it and like, how much does a mentor cost? Like if your dreams are big, the schooling and the mentorship
for sure.
Yeah.
I prophesized having 2 sons.
You did?
I did, to Tyler Lopez as my witness at Salty Dog 2 on it's a dive bar on the east side of Tucson. We're sitting there, Megan's pregnant, so late 2018, maybe early. I told Tyler first because I had just started with him. And I was like, hey man, I need to let you know my wife and I aren't codependent, but you can't know this.
Yeah.
She's pregnant and it's like day 1 right now. So me scooting in and out isn't, I need to go to the doctor. Oh, my wife it's not that. It's just, I got it. I don't miss ultrasounds.
No.
I don't miss pediatrician appointments.
Yeah.
I don't
100%.
I don't miss things. I air quote missed a swimming lesson one time, but I knew I wasn't going to be there. Megan didn't. We weren't on the exact same page.
Yeah.
And mostly my fault of not properly communicating. But like I was selling a car and I didn't make it to a swimming lesson at that time. But she thought I was. So it's kind of like, where the fuck are you? So now I was like, but that's still like a punch to the dad gut. Like, damn, like my bad. I should have communicated that better. Yeah, my bad. But yeah, we're sitting there. And I was like, all the things that have happened in my life, just the dad who's quit on me not once but twice, and all the stepdads, and all the men who were to have been influential role models in my life, uncles, older cousins, weren't there, weren't or defiled my mother, in ways need not be spoken. And it's just like, there's never been a male to lift me up, to influence me. So it's like, so as I grew older, and props to my dad with all our beef and bullshit, I think he had one realization as I became a legal adult in this country, that he knew he didn't do the job as a father he should have, and the only way for me to find direction was to go into the Air Force, and he just had to cross his fingers I signed those paperwork, and that's how it happened, just to get myself right, because like it's gotta be hard as a dad to kick your kid out to go get right, or just to put him in the military, to let somebody else raise them. Like, this dude's not prepared for manhood. Like, he saw that. We never had this conversation. I'm just looking back now, being at his age now when I was going into the military. So I've been walking in his shoes a little bit, trying to understand just what it would be like to have a grown-ass adult man at my age. We're the same age. So just like, okay, that's it. And then from my perspective, growing at the same pace as my parents, they weren't old enough for me, and their brains weren't fully formed enough for us to not be walking the same path, be intaking society and civilization at the same time, at the same speed. And then it gets to a point where you realize now as a man, they were stunted and I surpassed them years ago. And I need to have some forgiveness in my heart for all of that. But for all of that went wrong, heavy air quotes wrong, because many had it a lot worse. Let's not get lost in that. I have to right the sins of my father and raise 2 sons correctly. Was one way I viewed it as a prophecy in my life. And then there was the other side of that. There's some sense of balance for my wife. Her dad was kind of an absentee dad, and it's her and her brother and a single mom trying to raise them. And it's impossible to raise a child, a woman to raise a man, or a man to raise a woman. And furthermore, it takes both parents in the household for balance and understanding what you should be yearning towards. It's a big responsibility. What was the words? Reckless responsibility?
Radical
responsibility. To be a parent. There's conversations that need to be had. Like, and if you get caught in an accidental mishap of a situation, you still need to have the conversations and figure out what you're going to do here, because for the betterment of society, and to some certain extent, that's what we should all be here to bring. But anyways, my wife and her brother didn't have a fatherly influence as well. So it's like just that whole balance of her and I together, building towards something to right some familial wrongs, stand up, stop generational trends, do the right thing, the righteous thing, by whichever way you need to find that, and just ultimately produce productive members of society who can problem solve and make good choices. that's where I'm at with it. But I prophesized 2 sons. I said I will have 2 sons. It's a really long way to say that.
Bro, I didn't. That's so funny that you say that, man, because I felt like I was destined to have only girls. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's probably mainly my mom, me hearing my mom's voice all throughout my life. Because for us, I'm the oldest of 5. So there's 4 boys and then a girl. What up, Mies? And the crazy thing is, like, I grew up and my mom would always tell me, like, you're going to have all girls so that God can teach you patience. Like, because, I mean, even to this day, I'm not a very patient human being. So it's so funny that you say that, because even having a boy, and I mentioned it earlier, I didn't finish the story, but I had recorded a podcast of 5 things that I want to teach my son. And it was a really emotional podcast because, like, for me, there's a lot of dad wounds and also like other fatherly figure wounds where, I mean, the men in my life, it kind of goes back to this, man. They did the best that they could with what they had, but they're still all dealing with their versions of trauma and looking to try to get to a point where they're trying to release the stigma of getting some mental health help. The empowering thing about all this too is, like, even those same men, now that I'm really trying to make sure that I'm showing up everywhere talking about this shit, is I've had them reach out to one end or another. One of which, who is definitely one of those figures in my life that was like a Marine. The dude was strong, a nationally ranked wrestler. Like, he was top shit. And now later in his life, he's getting to a point where he's had some injuries and he can't do the things that he really wants to do. And, I was having a really cool conversation with him the other day, and he was like, my doctor says I have anxiety. Well, of course I have anxiety. I can't lift. I can't do all these things. And it was so nice to see him be vulnerable in that way, because he knows what I'm constantly talking about. And it's such a huge passion of mine. And it's going to be really interesting to see what my baby boy brings out in me. Because I mentioned this too. And, I'm not a huge, like, astrology type of person, but we have a mutual friend who does reading. So I was like, yeah, you read my signs, like, whatever. And so we were talking about my son, and she was like, your daughter is there to help you to remember to play, which is really interesting. And as I'm learning and becoming more trauma informed, it makes a lot of sense, because I didn't really do a whole lot of playing. I did a whole lot of, let me make sure everyone is good so that when dad gets home, everything is even keel. Like, there's nothing that's going to mishap it. Like, I'm just hoping for the best. So it was interesting getting that feedback, but the feedback she gave me from my son is, well, he's going to help you to feel, which blew my mind, because I'm like, I'm already feeling. Like, how much more healing do I have to fucking do? So it's so funny that you prophesized that, man, because I honestly just didn't think that we made boys.
Yeah, no, I wrote down about my kids. I put Big G is going to be able to keep the sensitivity that I wasn't able to hold on to. And I'd have to page back so far.
Yeah.
I write in the journal every day. I'll come back to that just on a personal tip. But yeah, I think each one of your kids are there.
Yeah.
However many you may have.
Yeah.
Like, they're there to instill something more in you.
Teach
you said
you
something very early on that I took to heart and have wrote pages on and podcasted about as well. But you said having a child in a lot of ways makes you reparent yourself.
Yeah, man.
And
Fuck.
there's something just that hit right there. Like, I was just like,
shit.
yeah, because I mean, I've gotten to places recently. I mean, my oldest isn't even 5, so I've been to places recently, just brought to my knees in just mourning and anger and torment, and just at my parents. And when you're, as the people who hurt you the most are the closest ones to you, and they're, one, not in front of you, but 2, if they were, what are you gonna do? They to some extent made you. Maybe they didn't form you, but they made you. Well, that's a weird thought. I want to go back to that thought. I'd like to go back to that thought. That's a deep. That's
yeah.
It's a deep cut. And then to get to a place of forgiveness, but I forget where I was going. I was ranting. I threw myself off.
No, man, you mentioned something earlier, and I wanted to get
reparenting myself.
Yeah, I want to get your take on that. Well, definitely, I want to go back to that because I love that concept because it's something just like you, I find myself in mourning about. You mentioned earlier that you don't miss pediatrician appointments. You don't miss ultrasounds. I experienced something the other day, man. So I went to a prenatal yoga class with my wife.
Cool.
Yeah, and so we did some really cool breath work, and I've really been into breath work just personally in my life and just doing that with a lot of clients too. And it was so cool because she had us like synchronize our breaths together. And like that was like really cool, and it felt really, really bonding. And there were a couple moms in there that didn't have their partners there. And the person who ran it was like, maybe we can have them come next time. And one of them was like, oh, my husband would never come to something like this. And the other one was like, yeah, mine too. And I felt compelled to say something.
Y'all two sit here together.
I felt compelled to say something, but I didn't. But in my mind, I was like, why the fuck not? Like, go get them.
Yeah.
Tell them, get your ass here and be here. I just think what you said there is really special. Like, I don't really understand. I mean, I have a better understanding now that I understand men a whole lot more. And maybe it's something they don't know nothing about and they don't want to be vulnerable enough to experience that new thing. But what you just said there, I think is really special is being there for things that maybe traditionally you were told that you don't have to be there for.
Yeah, the family. You need the family. It's a whole big thing. And I was just talking to Megan about this within the last couple of days. It was over the weekend. What's today? Wednesday? This has been a long time coming, Desi. Man, it's been
too fucking long. When we scheduled this originally, it was when we last saw each other.
Around Halloween. Like, let's get that done before Halloween 2021. God
damn it, it's fucking February.
It's a new year. What was I saying?
You were talking about the reparenting yourself, and I interrupted you because I just want to tell you that you're a special human being for what you said, but... I guess it was all one big long thing anyways, but yeah, it's to be to a point when you're so angry at your parents and realize you never want to output the same thing. I don't want another me. Like what I feel deep down in my loins, my true lens that I look at the world through, that is to a certain extent masked to literally everyone else because nobody knows how you truly feel. Yeah.
Like in the as least amount of words as possible, or the one of the highest words that come to mind is just lonely.
Yeah, man.
Like just from psychology, from the way I grew up, from my influences, from those who were around, the danger that was adjacent to my situation. Mm-hmm. I lived next to a kidnapped kid for like a year.
That's nuts.
Like this kid was just kidnapped. Nobody knew it, but he was kidnapped, getting molested by this dude who just lived on the third floor of this apartment complex. Nothing but latchkey kids running around this complex. Sure. So I never want to output that. I want my kids, because you need both parents, I think that's important for them to have balance, but also the balance within a man and a woman, show all sides of that. Nothing needs to be hidden or repressed, especially from those you love, and just give them everything. That was giving yourself to your children was the last thing I wrote down on here. Just dad shit. Just you give a part of yourself away throughout all relationships, and any relationship you have, a piece of you is in it, and you truly give everything away. I don't think it's when you get married, or as arguable anyways. I think it's truly when you spawn a seed.
Yeah.
Like that is now I truly no longer matter.
Yeah.
Nothing in my purview matters. What can I do now to be the most righteous and justice-filled individual in their life? And how can I not output just terrorist, fucked up kids? How can I provide them all of this and still keep them balanced?
Yeah.
There's an old what's the phrase? Old idiom from somewhere. Show me the son of a great man. Who's the son of a great man? Yeah. Just like there isn't one. It doesn't exist. And I want to prove that wrong. I'm striving to become a great man. I've done a lot of good things and I have a long way to go. I have some apologies to hand out. I have some relationships to mend, but I want to be on my way to becoming and stay and remaining a great man. That's one thing that I pray for every day. Lord, give me the strength. Give me the strength to remain a strong man physically, and give me the strength to remain a good man. And please allow me to wake up in the morning. And I started praying on it. We hit a rock. We're veering left. I have had it in my mind to wake up early in the morning my whole life.
Okay.
Everything about my life, my psychology is based on just meeting the bare minimum expectations.
Yeah.
Just wake up as late as possible, shower the night before, wake up, brush your teeth on your way out the door, and roll into class as the bell rings as you pick the booger out of your eyes. It's just like, I never had a lot to live up to, and to change that around. And so getting up early that was my life. That was every day of my life. Like I've been getting myself up for school. Part of that is I've been getting myself up for school since I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
Since 2nd and a half grade, I started waking up, brushing my teeth, bathing myself, and getting myself out the door to go to school on my own. You say you're the oldest of 5, I'm the oldest of 8, but there's a 10-year gap. Like, so I had a really weird first decade. Like, and just things aren't even full circle yet to this day as we go on our spiritual journeys and therapeutic journeys. What was I saying?
Well,
spiritual. But I could not wake up early in the morning. Ever. I was in the military for 14 years. It did not instill a damn get up and go type nothing. Like at all. Like that was not me. I put everything away. I started just running my life a little bit different. I think we were talking about this briefly on Instagram a few months back. Just like what I'm focusing on this year, resolution wise. And as I just continue to try to become great, it's like, everybody says get up early. And I just can't. I don't have
the
that
5 a.m. club, man.
Well, I don't have that in me. What is it? And I just started let's just pray on it. I've never prayed on it. I've woken up between 5 and 5:30 for the last 2 weeks. No alarm. Just Lord, wake me up, man. I'll get going. I'll do stuff in that time. Like I will, and I have been, and it's been real. Just fulfilling. I feel great,
bro.
I feel so good, just for so many reasons, for so many things. But leaping that hurdle or being midway through looking like I'm going to clear it. I don't know if we're at 21 days yet to form a true habit, but we're 14, Let's 13. Go. Like, come on, just get that toe over, point that toe the right way. And I'm just going. So like I said, I'm in just a spiritual awakening, just a lot of just positive vibes, and I'm seeing things very clearly. And yes, we should hang out more and get down just more business type stuff and entertainment stuff and life stuff and bringing these families together. I mean, I think that's an important thing. One of the things this is my main journal for the year, but I keep one in the truck just in case I'm in the truck. On the first page, it says people I want to spend more time with, and there's about 7 people's names I listed, and they're all couples. At least couples, if not families. So it's just like these are people, and wink, wink, your name's on the list. It's like people I want to spend more time with. Like it's not like we don't live on the same side of town, but we long term
can make that happen.
Thinking it makes sense to do things like that. Or like even you've been to the parish?
I have.
Man, we ate there for the first time last weekend. Like that's a reason for me to not go too far from your side of town. Like, for sure. Like that burger was highly recommended. I'm a burger snob, and I highly recommend it, man. So, what do you say? Let's turn gears. Let's shift. Let's get back into kind of your perspective. What do you say? Help me to help somebody. Help me to reach my hand out, because I got somebody, and I'm waiting for them. Right, I'm waiting on one of my very best friends he just hasn't hit rock bottom, and I keep answering his calls. because I know nobody else is answering his calls.
Yeah.
And I've known the man for coming up on 27 years or so. And it's like, man, I'm just waiting for you.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you. And as I enter my new season, and one of my brothers, my first note from yesterday's journal was, I'll just read it. Follow Cole. He's been waiting for me.
Yeah.
That's my brother's name.
Yeah.
He was I didn't know that he was waiting for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I see now. Got it. Let's make some moves. Let's make some life happen together, just on a real same frequency vibe type thing. And I'm waiting on this guy. So as a high performance guy, when you got somebody who's underperforming, willful ignorance, and you are waiting, when they do get ready, when those people do reach out to you, I mean, what is the first step?
Man, this was so healing for me, because when I first started what I was doing, I was just doing, as a dietitian, nutrition coaching, and I understood what happens in people's psyches, and I understood really early on why people do what they do. And it was really hard for me, and a huge ego trip, because if someone wasn't getting better, I would take that on. Like, there's something wrong with me. So I would step into this shame place, and the person would end up kind of maybe getting what they needed and then going on, me knowing like this person's going to struggle for a whole lot longer than what I thought or expected. It was completely healing to me to come from a place of truly wanting to help them out, but understanding that I can only help them if they want help. And part of my role as a mentor, in a lot of ways, I become very, very good friends with the people that I work with, because we share so much damn fucking vulnerability, and I pull from stories in my life and my experiences just to really hold space and to make sure, like, hey, like, I see you. One of the quickest things that I think is really empowering is to help them to understand what it looks like to show up in a healthy manner. And I learned this very early on, just in like the career field, being in mental health. You get a bunch of gems, and one of the gems that I got was, that you're healthy when your thoughts, your feelings, your words, and your actions match, right? And so I thought that was an empowering thing. So with someone who is kind of just starting off, is allowing yourself to kind of be that mirror where you're saying, hey, you're saying that you want to get better in this certain way, or you're saying that you want to do this. Your actions aren't matching up. Can you help me understand like what's going on for you? And I feel like usually that thing right there is so empowering for them, because if they are in that place, they're going to say, I don't know how to get there. Can you help me? Or they're going to tell you what you need to hear, and you're going to get the information that you need. And in your mind, be like, okay, person's not ready. And I got to be okay with that. And I got to set a healthy boundary for myself to not overextend myself in a way that is going to pull from my daughter, or pull from my wife, or pull from my creative endeavors, because that's another thing too, man. In my season of life right now, if you are getting my time, like, you are special to me, because I
preach that.
Exactly.
I preach that. That's the most finite commodity.
Exactly.
You can't get that back. Time with my son, lack of time with my son caused a disconnect, and we slept in the same place.
Yeah.
Again, thank you. Yes. Yes. Much, much long awaited. Go on.
But so you said something earlier too that I think is really good for us to understand as well, is, and I think this gets convoluted, especially on the parent side. Most people kind of come into this thinking, I'm going to give everything to my kids, I'm going to give everything to my marriage. They don't understand that you have to refill that cup. I mean, as we're talking here, you've been gracious enough to give me a bottle of water, right? I poured it. And then I'm not going to quench my thirst if I don't refill the damn cup. It's the same fucking thing that happens with people. If you're pouring into your kids and pouring into your marriage and maybe pouring into your work, 100%, like, I love that. Also, you have to refill that cup, because you can't fill up the cup of others if yours is fucking empty. And I feel like a lot of people are operating in the mindset of, let me just go be selfless and try to neglect being selfish in the best of ways for myself. And that honestly usually happens for those of us who grew up with like Christian morals. You're taught to be selfless, right? You can't be selfish. That's a sin.
Part of it is society, the way we're structured, that work. That work. Oh, I can't even take a sick day until the world says you're going to take some sick days.
Have you, I'm sure you fucking have seen this. It blows my mind. I want to say that it's Sweden that tested out the 4-day work week, and their productivity has skyrocketed.
Yeah, I don't recall which country, but yes, this is exactly what I was talking with Megan on Sunday.
Okay, which I think is really interesting. And then like I've been, a lot of the content that my favorite platform right now is TikTok, because I feel like your algorithm is a really good match with how you're doing as a person.
Okay.
Good, bad, or indifferent. And I was talking about this on my pod about the reticular activating system, and then how like that's like your social media algorithm. One of the things I came across is like foreigners talking about the workforce of Americans and the fact that they think it's really weird that it's a badge of honor to have X amount of days and to not take them. I'm out of the fucking workforce, dude, because I knew very early on that like I need to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
I need to honor my ideas. I can't be a 9-to-5 because I'm a shitty employee because I want to do things my fucking way.
Yeah.
But
because it's better.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's just not
Yeah.
It's better.
The days that I used to log, I was fucking taking. I constantly had like a vacation time of maybe like pay periods, like maybe like 2 to 3 days left or something like that, because I'm taking them.
It's so important, and it is overlooked in this society just to the most degree. But like for me, I'm sure we talked about this before, but I got 4 pillars that I will live within. It's in this order: my family, my wellness, my finances third, and causes that I care about. And a lot of times all 4 can be one, and they all interact with together. And I got 7 core values to go with it. And it's just that time. Sometimes, yes, you do need to take for yourself. But I got to a point, you had, the number's gone up. I had 45 out of the last like 70 days. But very recently I had 40 from mid-November to early January. So 63 days-ish. I had 40 days on COVID quarantine. Me and my son got COVID in November, on Veterans Day, November 11th. I always have Veterans Day. I take off. It's my day. I have plans that night. Like,
thank
leave
you for your
me
service,
alone.
Bro.
You're welcome. Thank you for your support.
I always thought, like, how do you respond to that?
Just like that. Just like that. Somebody says, thank you. You say, you're welcome.
You're damn right.
Yeah, you're welcome for my service. Yeah, it is odd, especially when you serve in the capacity I did, which I'm proud of, but I didn't have bullets flying my way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in our generation have
100%
who are serving. So it's interesting. But I had 40. I had all these days. I had COVID and my son had COVID, so we had to lock down 10 days from daycare. My other son, subsequent, had to lock down 10 days because he was exposed to us for that 10 days. So that's 20 days there. A week or two goes by, daycare shuts down again for 10 days. Week or two goes by again, daycare shuts down again for 10 days. So 40 days, and I'm still handling business. Mm-hmm. We still sold 200 houses last year and are going to sell 250 this year.
Yeah.
Business didn't slow down, so I'm still just dealing with that. It's just a stressful moment, just a quarter, and just like, man, this is... Fuck, man. Like, just think, and I'm to a point, I'm always deep in thought. I've throttled that back. I'm letting others think for me. I'm following a lot this year. I'm doing a lot of intentional limitation just for my mind. Just let my mind rest for a year. Let's just chill. Let's recoup. Let's get some new input. So part of getting some of that new input was it worked to a point where I had a lull, complete lull on a Wednesday. I was like, on Sunday, I was like, I'm going to have a lull this week.
Oh, shit.
Friday's my day. Yeah. And then it was Tuesday, and I was like, oh, tomorrow's my day. Okay. So on Tuesday night, I made all my plans, wrote it all down in the journal, put my bag together, and then Wednesday morning woke up, took my kids to daycare, and drove up Mount Lemmon, and pretty much to the top, and took a nice just 5-hour hike out. Got just real acquainted with God, just peace, protect. I was listening to Cam Newton speak on a podcast, and so what's one thing you would go back and tell your younger self? And without missing a beat, he said, protect your peace at all costs. And that one I wrote down. We got our family. I'll show you before we leave. I'll show you some of our family stuff we got going on.
Yeah.
Our family board downstairs, and then my block I wrote. I have like 3 things written there right now. One of them is protect your peace at all costs, Cam Newton. Yeah. And I had to. And if you didn't understand it, that's not up to me. Like, and maybe you should stop relying on your own understanding. Yeah. Like, I might need to go handle myself sometimes, and that's also none of your business. Like, I got me.
Yeah.
And for me to ultimately have me, I got to go off and get lost on a mountainside for about 5 hours. Yeah. And I did that. And there was fortunately a creek in the sun, and I went and wandered, man, on just the side of Mount Lemmon. I was like, I'm not so far from civilization. Unless I fall and get hurt, or a bear gets me. That was my only concern. I was like, the terrain's not too bad, and I can make sure I stay safe. But if a bear gets me, this is how I get to my knives, and I hope I can get to the gun. I was like, and I didn't even want to bring a gun with me.
Yeah,
it was just because, and there's probably not going to be a bear, but like they got a sign up. It was like, all right. But I went unplugged, complete isolation from the world. No work, no business, no phone calls, airplane mode in the woods. Like, just leave me alone. I really need to get with myself. I really need to get with nature. I climbed not like a free rock climb, but I got to a point, went up this big part of the Mount Lemmon, nothing much higher, and just really spent some time out there, trudged it, just getting intimate with myself and shit. Just went deep, and just called my mom the next day, like, hey, well, I'm sorry if I ever pushed you away. And she's like, no, you didn't. And then it got into, I really tried my best. I'm like, I know you tried your best. I've journaled about you trying your best. We're good. So that's on the mountaintop. And then I went down to the mountain, the bottom, the valley, to the water, and put my hands in the mud and just, all right, from the top to the bottom, and then I gotta get back to the car. So always find your way back home. Yeah, like ultimately, just the metaphor for the day. Like, go on your journey, take your travels, find your revelations. Don't forget the bottom where you came from, and on your way, who was with you on the way up, and find your way back home. Yeah, like even if you didn't set your coordinates. Yeah. Like, and that's part of what Tucson will do too. The desert will call you home. You started with that, but it brought me back here too. Yeah, it brought me back here too. Yeah. So that isolation, that alone time, just very important. Just as we think of mental health and relearning manhood. Yeah, I think, and being able to articulate and teach that and spread that and pass that on, because it is missed. And there are boys right now who need guidance, and God will only give you what you can handle. We've heard that, but God will also only give you what you deserve. Good, bad, and different. Yeah, that's all part of it. And for you to be blessed with the forthcoming of a son from a guy who has 2 sons, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and you get to just really just the forming of a man is so important and dear to me. Yeah. Because it's the one thing I didn't have. I was unformed, and I'm still reforming. Yeah. And getting to a point to be feeling reborn and just seeing things clearly and outputting that. Ultimately, that's the goal. My family, my wellness, my finances, causes that I care about, that stands, that comes with gratitude, accountability, professionalism, service, compassion, forgiveness, and courage. Yeah. Those are the 7 core values that are within those 4 pillars.
I love that, man. There's a lot that can happen when you can truly take some time to let go of a lot of the distractions of just anything that's going on in your life, and to be present with something or someone. That's like that prenatal class that I was talking about. Like, that was a moment there.
Oh, the manhood, rethink your manhood, rethink what women think of men. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but just to go back to that point, he would never. He had better. Yeah. Yeah. The perspective is off. And yes, you know your man better than we do. And that is not the way that hurts my soul.
Yeah, man. It was I have people reaching out. For the most part right now, my clientele, when we're tapping into life, business, health, it's a pretty good split between men and women. And I had a guy reach out to me about a month ago that was like, I really need some help. Can you please help me? And so we jumped on the phone with him and his wife, and the dude was so uncomfortable with expressing vulnerability that, he ended up having drinks beforehand.
Wow.
Just so that he could be vulnerable. And I was really thankful, man, that he was like forthright with it. It was like, listen, like, I don't think that I could have said anything that I'm going to say here if I was sober. And so we started talking about the drinking. We started talking about how he spends his time and what he does, with stress, and if he understands how his nervous system operates, all of that stuff. And, he started getting really, really agitated at me for some of the things that I was challenging. And I listened and I said, hey, look, I know that this is probably a really different process for you. I totally understand that. And if I'm an onlooker and I have no idea what Desi does and I hear some of the questions that he asks, I'm going to have to let him know, like, hey, can you give me a couple days to answer just at least one of those questions, because they're thoughtful, intentional questions for a reason. I was like, I get all that. What I'm hearing from you right now, it sounds like you're really scared. And right off the bat, it's like, I'm not scared, man. Like, this is going to cost a lot of money. It's going to cost a lot of time. Like, that's not me. And so, like, I let him kind of like regurgitate all of his shit and all of his shame. And then I brought it back to, hey, it's okay to say that you're fearful about maybe not knowing whether you can be successful in life or something like this. It's okay to express some fear about, like, I don't know if I'm going to keep my marriage if I keep going down this path. Mm-hmm. And, he decided to go the route of, let me try to figure this out. And, bon voyage, best of luck, my man. But I think he's a really good example of what often does happen, because I've had people personally reach out and I'll ask them questions about, like, what are your thoughts on mental health? What are your thoughts on getting some help in these things? And it's usually crickets. And for me, it hurts my soul because, like, I've been there. Roar's first year of life, I'm working in a place that I hated. This is my last 9-to-5 job. I hated this place. I was unhappy. I knew that I wanted to do something, but I just didn't know what that meant. And then I first started trying to test out entrepreneurship and Oden, like, doing something on your own, it's not for the faint of heart, because you are going to be the answer, and even more empowering, like, you are also going to be your own barrier. You have to get really fucking authentically vulnerable with yourself, with, like, what radical responsibility. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things I need to take care of? And like in Rory's first year of life, there were moments where I had a shit ton of suicidal ideation. Like, like, I'm not going to be successful. Like, I should have been at this place already by now. Like, what am I going to teach my daughter? Like, how am I going to be of value if I'm just unhappy? It's like, there were moments where I thought to myself, like, should I even be here? And I look back in those moments and I'm like, man, I wish I had who I am today for me. And that's one of the most empowering things for me. Cause I got asked that the other day, like, well, Desi, what gets you up? Talking to you all, man. Like, I may not be able to get you to a point where we work together, but if I trigger something within you and that causes you to start looking at your behavior and taking fucking radical responsibility for that, then I'm cool, man. Because, and this is exponential, because if I can have that type of impact with you and then you can go spread that into your community, your family, your household, the fucking world gets better.
Yeah, and I think that's a great starting point on that. Where do you start vulnerability? Remove the layers, break down walls, try to put your true self out, to be vulnerable. That does not equal weakness.
It doesn't.
It doesn't at all or anywhere near.
Rebrand the way that you think about vulnerability. Rebrand the way that we think about feelings. I fucking hate it when someone is like, oh, they're in their feelings. Are you saying this to young kids? Like, we want them to feel, man. Like, because we grew up, rub some dirt on it, stop. So we got that message very early on. Like, your emotions are too much for me. They're too much for anyone. You need to stop. I have to fucking constantly remind myself of that too. You know, with the way that I parent, like their emotions are okay. I'm the person that has to regulate mine right now.
Yeah, I was talking to my cousin. It was episode 69. I remember because I wanted episode 69 to be all about fucking, but it turned out to be all about parenting.
Yeah.
But that's all about fucking, so it still worked out, just how I wanted it to. But we were talking about, and he's a little bit older, a little bit wiser, but parenting, and it boiled that we boiled the conversation down to 2 points: just intent and patience. And it just being so important, but all the undertone being their first 6 years, and you're right around there, right? For their first 6 years.
She'll be 6 in April, man.
This is some old Freud stuff. It's like it's all ego. They're full ego, and that's why my household gets overstimulating sometimes because we let them run around and. They're good. I mean, ultimately, my kids are good. They're not sitting there throwing themselves on the floor having tantrums for 15, 20 minutes. That's never happened. They were never really hitters. They were never really biters. They weren't sleepers, and they're still not sleepers. So that was the thorn. I didn't sleep for 4 years. I'm just now, we're still, the baby's about to be 3, and he's still at 2 a.m. this morning. Yeah. Is in our room and I just get up out of bed. Put my smiles on, pick him up, or let him walk, whatever the moment is. Yeah. Get him back in his bed, get him to bed, tell him he's doing great, tell him just a quick little story, tell him how good he looks, tell him how good of a haircut he has and how we got to have it. Basically, I try to just stay on the same tone because just the same thing over and over and over again. I don't change my story. Hey, in order to have a good day, we want to have a good day tomorrow, right? So we need to get a good night's sleep. So it's real important for you to get back to sleep right now. And you look so good. And ready tomorrow morning, we brush your hair, we get your hair ready, get to show, we have a good morning when we get out the door. Man. Yeah, come on, man, we're gonna rock it in the morning. Yeah, and you're not gonna beat me up. Yeah, like no, I will be up first. Yeah, I will be down cleaning the kitchen and in worship. I promise you. So get back to bed, bud. Get back to bed. It's all good. I love you. Good night. And I'm saying that like as I'm tucking him in and working my way back to the door. It's like a 5-second conversation, it's a 30-second ordeal, but it just keeps happening repeatedly. But that's all parenting. They are ego driven, like they are, and they're here to stay. They're here to make an impression. They want their presence known. Yeah, like that is their acting out. They haven't learned. You're still. I found it took both of my a year to readjust after even bringing them home. Okay, we brought home a whole new person. Yeah, everything's the same, but everything is different. So how do we make this work? And it's just learning. It's just learning, lifelong learning. Yeah. Learning their psychology as you teach them their psychology. Yeah.
You got to teach them, man. It's I always kind of think about this too. I mean, I understood this pretty early on, and I'm still understanding this. You started the pod with like what your experience was like as a dad in your first year, and one of my best friends had said, usually in the first year, you're kind of just there, you really don't attach to your kid until after a year. They know you're there, but like, they're breastfeeding, they're doing whatever. They want mom, and I think
definitely want mom.
And I think that's such a vulnerable place to be because for me, like it was a huge ego trip. Like, look, little girl, like I helped make you, like, please love me.
Just a little?
And in the best of ways too, man. And even just with this second kid on the way, like when my wife told me that she was pregnant, she's like, how do you feel? And I'm like, there are so many things that I did in your last pregnancy. I mean, it just happened the way that it did. Like I was working 80 hours during that time. I was never home. I don't remember a whole lot about the pregnancy because I wasn't there. So I was like, now I get to be here. Like I work from home the whole time. Like I'm there for whatever you need. And even just on the parenting side too, there's a lot in the first year that I want to make sure that I'm a lot more present for because, man, my wife is a fucking saint, dude. Because me trying
amen.
Me trying to figure out my shit. I mean, we're on almost year 6 of my daughter's life, and I feel like that was the change. And the way that I operate, like I needed something like that. You know, we were having some pillow talk the other night, and she's like, what excites you about having this boy? And I was like, I have consistently up to this point surprised myself always in anything that I'm doing. And if you're telling me that another little life is going to come in, is going to help me exponentially grow, because that's what Roars did for me when we first had her. I was like, I'm just excited about what that means. I'm excited about how to be a better husband, how to be a better individual, how to be a better dad. And I know that's going to spill into my creative endeavors. So if you're asking me how I feel, like I'm motherfucking ecstatic.
Life is good.
Yeah, life is good.
I'm oriented this way for a reason.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, your view right now is so fucking dope.
It's the vibe. It's all things. It's taking that. It just in order for yourself to just function on a high level, in order to provide, fill up other people's cups, and do whatever is needed to ensure yours remains full, and recognize when it is not.
Yeah.
Mine's traffic. As soon as I start, 2 things. When I start getting bothered by traffic, just the amount of cars on the road.
Yeah.
They're the same every day. Yeah. Just to remind everybody. In
there's
Tucson,
some that's more, there's some that's less.
We're on a grid. There's the same amount of cars at the same time every single day. When that starts annoying, and when I just feel that irritation, then I know it's time for me to take a day to myself. And a day to myself is going and unplugging in the woods for 5 hours, driving around Saguaro National, sitting there. I got my little meditation spot. Like I need to completely detach. And that's when I think of old 112-year-old me, I'm just on a mountaintop in peace.
Yeah.
Like I'm by a fresh lake stream. I'm trapping for dinner. Yeah. I make it into town once a month type deal. Yeah. Probably in that same sexy green truck you see out front. So is life. So I'm just enjoying the life. And with the idea that I'm going to be here for a long, long, long time. So how can I do that most effectively?
Yeah.
Gain knowledge, process it, and spread wisdom along the way. I want to talk to you about so many more things, but I think we should call this one and get up out of here, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have a part 2, man. Let's
do it. We got to get into health and wellness and specific dietary type stuff.
Yeah,
for sure. You didn't even go into that journey, my man. Big time.
Yeah,
big time understands that realm. Quite a lot.
100%.
So let's get up out of here, Desi.
Cool.
Everybody, be cool. Check on a vet. And hug your loved ones.
I love it.
Cheers.